Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tashana. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are not, welcome back. Thank you guys so much for coming. In today's video, as promised, I'm going to be doing my timeline for my green card application. It is a requested video. I was already planning on doing it, but I'm going to go ahead and just give you the breakdown, the timeline of my entire application process.
Already, you know it. Top everything, you know it. King already, you know it. My body soul got a king body. Body gon' shine, bling, bling body. Calling all the shots, ring, ring body.
Let me just say before I go ahead and start, everyone's application time is more than likely different because of varying factors. For one, it all depends on how many persons are applying for adjustment of status wherever you live. So anywhere there's a lot of immigrants, all that stuff, there's going to be a longer wait time for your interview date. First things first, we had to wait to even put our application in or anything. So we got married and then we began looking to apply in middle 2019. So we began looking into we actually began looking into applying at the beginning of 2019 and was set to put our application in by mid 2019. Our lawyer wanted to wait to make sure that we had everything together before she ended up putting the application in. So we ended up eventually putting in our application in February of 2020. Okay, so that's the real thing that you guys wanted to know, more than likely. When did you actually put the application in? So I put the application in February of 2020. You put your application in about 3 weeks. So in March, that's when I got the first notice or letter from USCIS. And the letter was let us know that they had received our application and that it was being processed, and also that they received our fees for our application, and that the application, all of the forms, you get individual letters for each form, and they all said, okay, we received this form, we received that form, we received that form, and we received that form, depending on how many forms you fill out. Everyone's situation is different again, so you might end up applying for waivers that didn't apply to me, so you would have multiple forms that you need to fill out. Forms that I ended up filling out in the beginning was form I-485. This is the form that has both you and your spouse's information on there, and this is the form that you use to adjust your status. Okay, it has all of your information, your biographic information, your parents' information. If it is that you have kids, if you were married before, all of that information is on this form I-485. The next form that you fill out is form I-130. This is the form that your spouse or whoever is sponsoring you fills out. This is the petition form. The spouse telling the USCIS they are a US citizen and they are sponsoring you to do your adjustment of status. With each of these forms comes different evidences that you would need to put in with the form. The other form is form I-767, and that form is to apply for your EAD card, and your EAD card is the card that allows you to travel temporarily while your application is being processed. It also allows you to work while your application is being processed. It's like a mini green card, I would say. Not really, but yeah. Okay, so the next form is form I-864, and this form is the affidavit of support form. So this form is what your US sponsor needs to fill out to say that they have enough income to take care of you. So if it is that you lose your job if you're working, or if it is that something happens to you, they'll be able to take care of you and you won't be depending on the government to do all that, because that's one of the biggest things. They don't want you coming into the country and depending on the government, taking out any kind of aid or whatever it is. So your sponsor, spouse, whoever it is, needs to be making a certain amount of money. You can go ahead and look that information up. It might change by the time I end up doing this video. It might have changed, not sure. So I would say go ahead and look up that video. It's a certain percentage above the poverty line that they need to be in order to sponsor you. If it is that your spouse or your primary sponsor doesn't make enough money, that form allows another person outside of your spouse or sponsor to fill it out. So if your spouse has a parent that you feel comfortable using, a job, or whoever it is, person that you know, they can go ahead and fill out that form as long as they're making enough money and they are willing to share this information with you and all that stuff. I feel like that is a little bit more tedious because you have to get a third person involved, and that's like probably just gonna be a little bit tricky, but there is that option if it is that your spouse or whoever it is does not make enough money. So after I put all those forms in, I also put in my form I-693, and this is the medical form. This is a form that you send in with your medical, just for them to make sure that you don't have any illnesses or any contagious diseases or anything like that. So I heard back from them in 3 weeks. So I put it in February and I heard back from them in March. They pretty much just told you that they received your forms and it's being processed, and they also received your fees. Each of the forms have a different filing fee. So you want to also go ahead and look up on the USCIS website what exactly each of the form fees are. They change randomly, so I don't want to go ahead and give you the amounts and then that's not the amount. So go ahead and look it up or ask your lawyer if it is that you have a lawyer. Okay, so after I heard back from them in March, COVID happened. Okay. So I heard back from them in March and then COVID happened, and COVID pretty much slowed down the whole application process. So I did not hear back from them until July. Okay, people were not working. When we checked the USCIS website, they were pretty much closed. Whenever I'd asked my lawyer what's going on, have you heard anything from them, they pretty much were just closed and they weren't doing anything in office, I believe, or if it was they were doing anything in office, it was a very small amount. So they were very short staffed at that time, so a lot of persons didn't hear back from them. I believe had COVID not happened, based on what I read online, I would have received my EAD card following the letters that my application had been received. So the next thing that I ended up receiving from them was in July. In July, I received a letter from them to say that I did my medical way too early. So guys, pro tip, your medical is not supposed to be sent in with your initial filing. They actually send you a letter in the mail and request for you to go do your medical. They'll tell you when to do your medical, and when you get that letter is when you go do your medical, fill out the I-693 and then do your medical and then send it in. I did my medical in 2019 and my application was put in February. So they were like, you did your medical 60 days before you put in your application. So anything could have happened to me during that time, and they want to make sure that at the time you do your interview and all that stuff, you're clean and you don't have anything coming into the country. Otherwise, whatever. Not sure what they do to you if you do, but yeah, they don't want that. So I ended up doing my medical, bringing it with me on my interview date. Okay. So the next thing I received from them was in October, and that was to do my biometrics. Your biometrics is them fingerprinting you, taking your photograph, pretty much checking your background, making sure that you're not a criminal and all that stuff. So they run a background check on you, and that was done in October. So after that, I received another letter in December, and that letter was my interview date letter, and I pretty much said you're invited to do your interview this date and all that stuff. So pretty much my overall timeline was 11 months. I don't live in an area with a lot of immigrants, and so I believe that my application would have been processed and been fully over had it not been for COVID. I would not have waited so long to get my interview date. As I said, it all varies. It depends on where you live. It's different for everyone. I would just say if you're taking a lot longer to get your interview date, I would just say continue practicing your questions, continue getting your evidence together. In that time period, you would have had more pictures together, all that stuff. You would have had more holidays to do stuff, more time to intermingle with family members, take photos with family and all that stuff. So I would not sweat it. I would just chill. It's COVID and everything is a lot more slower now. And also remember not to send in your medical form 60 days before you put in your initial filing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. I hope you had some new information that was helpful to you. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if that was the case. Also, go ahead and share the video if it is that somebody else that you know might need to hear this information, and also subscribe. I'm sharing information, and I'm going to be sharing more of what happened along the journey. So go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you in another video. Bye.